Hello everybody and welcome back to my F1 2020 My Team career mode for the French Grand Prix today. Round number 10 I believe of the championship. So going into this one, looking for good things in this round. It's been a very solid season so far, and we as a team have won the last two races despite not having the greatest car. So hopefully we can continue that form, and we start qualifying rather in a similar vein, third and fourth behind the two Mercs. So good form here for the team in Q1, but knocked out in Q1. No real surprises there other than Carlos Sainz in the McLaren. You'd probably expect he'd get out, so yeah, not really good enough. Kevin Magnussen doing a decent job in the Alfa Romeo, getting out of Q1 there, but yeah, other than that, no surprise in knockouts in Q1. Q2 though, and you'll see down the bottom of the screen, Max Verstappen is knocked out. Romain Grosjean goes second fastest. We drop down the order a little bit compared to Q1, but not too much to worry about there for us. But yeah, Max Verstappen, oof, that is not good enough for him in that Ferrari. Charles Leclerc will be fighting for, potentially the second row of the grid, and yeah, Max Verstappen knocked out in Q2, so that's no good for him in that Ferrari. He needs to be doing better than that. We finished our first lap in Q1, and we go slowest of all. We need to improve by around about a second to get up on par with our teammates, so we'll be trying to do that on our second flying lap then. So here we go then, through the first couple of corners. This will hopefully be our best lap of the weekend as we wind our way through, and we've actually tuned up the downforce a little bit for this one on the front wing. I think we're running 5.6 wings, which is the default, but now we're running 6.6, and that helped immensely. The nose just wasn't really turning and getting into the corners very nicely, so yeah, running a little bit more front wing. It's not going to slow us down in a straight line too much. It's only one more click upwards of the downforce, and it made a huge difference in the corners, and the car just started I guess just pointing into the corners a lot more nicely. And the place where I noticed it the most actually is this final right-hander. You'll see we get the apex really nicely there, whereas I was missing it by sometimes up to half the track before. But anyway, we've improved massively on our previous lap. We come across the line, and we're going to go fourth fastest here in qualifying 3, and that is a fantastic day for us on Saturday.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Bottas, Grosjean and Lewis Hamilton. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
And would you look at that, Grosjean on the front row of the grid ahead of its home crowd here in France. That is fantastic stuff. But both cars are on the first two rows of the grid, so it's a great place to start for the team. Let's get into the race and see what we can do.
Welcome along then to France, host of the world-famous Tour de France. But we're not talking 2 wheels today, we're talking 4, in a country widely thought of as giving birth to the art of motor racing back in the late 1800s. We've come a long way since then, and you're about to find out how far. It's time for the French Grand Prix. A lap of Paul Ricard then consists of 15 corners and a total length of around 3.6 miles. Drivers will need to position their cars carefully on the exit of the flat-out turn 10, ready for the double apex right-hander at 11. Watch out for potential overtaking action at the end of the start-finish straight and into the heavy braking zone of turn 8. And I'm delighted, as always, to introduce Anthony Davidson, who'll be taking you through all the action alongside me today.
Besides that, of course, any kind of turn 1 incident could completely turn the race on its head. Let's keep our fingers crossed everyone can get through in one piece.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, edging out Romain Grosjean, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, the scientist, Daniel Ricciardo, and Leclerc, Albon, Ocon, Perez, and Nobuharu Matsushita, Joe, Kvyat, Lando Norris, and Verstappen, Gasly, Magnussen, Carlos Sainz, and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell, Latifi, Stroll, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Nick de Vries. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are on the grid then for the French Grand Prix, and you can see the fastest strategy, and indeed the one we'll go with is the two-stop rather from softs to 2 sets of mediums. I did play around with the other options, but there were nothing came close to the recommended, so that is what we will do, and what we will stick with as we get ready now to go to the 5 red lights here in France. And we are underway immediately for the French Grand Prix, a very short hold there. And Daniel Ricciardo, what a start from the Australian. And he has blitzed the field up into turn 1 and gone from the 3rd row up into 2nd position. That is an unbelievable start from Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull. And that has brought him back into the fight after qualifying that he would not have been particularly happy with. That is absolutely insane. I've never seen such a good start by any of the other drivers. That is absolutely incredible. He just took off like a rocket ship. Meanwhile for us, we did lose of course that position to Ricciardo, but other than that we held on, and we are more or less where we started. But Daniel Ricciardo, I cannot get over that. That was insane. Just the speed he had. I could have sworn he jumped the start, but there you go. That is absolutely incredible stuff. But anyway, we move on, and we are trying to chase down Lewis Hamilton here through the final sector, and we're going to go down the inside into the final corner, run him a little bit wide there, but we do make the move on Lewis Hamilton and pull in now behind our teammate Romain Grosjean, who is now behind Ricciardo, behind race leader Valtteri Bottas, who has pulled away at the end of this opening lap. Grosjean though seemingly able to keep up with Ricciardo, so the championship leader could be under threat very soon. Meanwhile Hamilton gets back past us down the inside of the flat out right-hander. We try something in this next long right-hander, but there's not really anywhere to run side by side through there the way we were, so that is Hamilton through ahead of us. Meanwhile Grosjean goes with the move around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo at the chicane and gets the move done. Romain Grosjean up into 2nd position now in this race. Great move by the Frenchman and his home crowd cheering him on. Meanwhile we've caught up to Lewis Hamilton once again, and we're going to try and make the move around the outside into the first corner, and we go a little bit deep, and Hamilton is going to get the switch back as we get a lot of understeer through turn 2, and Hamilton gets back ahead as we have to slot back in line behind him. But Lewis Hamilton able to hold on there, but you can see we have both caught up with Daniel Ricciardo as well, so we both seem to have better pace than the Red Bull in this one as we go down the inside into this flat out right-hander, and that is another great move at that corner as we do exactly what Hamilton did to us earlier on, and managed to get through there, leaving each other plenty of space there, as that can get quite sketchy side by side, but we do make that move stick. And next up is Daniel Ricciardo, then Grosjean and Bottas further up the road as we have trouble driving in a straight line. But anyway, as we continue on then, we need to try and close this gap to Daniel Ricciardo and hope that he can drop out of DRS range of Grosjean, and that will make overtaking him much easier than the trouble we had with Hamilton. So here we go then, as we try and go around the outside of Ricciardo into the first corner. This didn't work before, but it works for us this time. We get the car stopped and turn nicely for turn 2 this time, and that is what we were trying to do with Hamilton, but we managed to pull it off cleanly with Daniel Ricciardo. Here's the onboard. We've managed to brake so much later, and just having the more flowing line through the corner just helped us immensely there, and we're able to make that move on Daniel Ricciardo. And next up is Romain Grosjean, as we are probably actually ready to make a pit stop here on this lap, and indeed that is what we are going to do, as that is definitely the pit lane that we're driving in there. But in we go then, and we will be putting on a set of the medium compound tyres. Lewis Hamilton follows us into the pit lane, so we're both trying to get an undercut on well, our relative teammates Bottas and Grosjean are further up the road, so we'll see if we can pull that one off. We had Hamilton right behind us, so let's hope we get a good stop here. Otherwise we could be under threat from Hamilton if he gets a good stop. We do get a decent enough one though, and maintain the gap there to Lewis Hamilton, so thankfully not losing a position in the pit lane there, and we are able to get out in some pretty clean air here actually, so that's pretty nice. I was worried about traffic, but the field spread is actually so tight that traffic is actually all ahead of us, and by the time we finish the lap we do catch up to Lance Stroll as Grosjean's coming out of the pit lane. We go down the inside of Lance Stroll, and that is an absolute send, but we had to make that move, otherwise we would have been stuck behind the Williams, but thankfully Stroll saw us coming and left us the room that we needed. That was a very aggressive move, but one we had to make. Meanwhile, we have Romain Grosjean ahead of us, stuck behind Nicholas Latifi. This is the kind of thing we would have to deal with if we were stuck behind Lance Stroll, but we've been able to use that to gain the time on Romain Grosjean. Bottas will be getting a bit of traffic as well up ahead of him pretty soon, so this is perfect for us. Grosjean goes for the move on Nicholas Latifi, gets ahead of him in a straight line. We are going to have to make a move from a long way back here. We've got the overspeed, we have looked to the inside, but we just didn't have the confidence there. There didn't really seem to be a gap that we could go for, so it's better to just wait than try anything silly. But now on this next straight we actually have a good run here. We're going to go to the inside line as we head towards a flat out right hander. We missed the apex by a mile and run a bit wide, but we get ahead of Nicholas Latifi nonetheless, and get back up behind Romain Grosjean once again, and now we need to try and focus on chasing down our teammate. He's actually gone onto the soft compound tyres. Everyone else in the top flight of cars has gone onto the mediums, as Daniel Ricciardo retires with a mechanical failure, and that is huge for his title hopes. And the result in this race, he's going to lose a lot of points with such a tight championship between himself and Bottas, and of course myself getting into the fight recently as well. That is a DNF he can ill afford. But as we continue on, we do set the fastest lap of the race as we are trying to push and finally getting some form in this race after being off the pace of Grosjean, to be honest, throughout this whole thing. But speaking of Grosjean, here he is on those soft compound tyres, going down the inside of Valtteri Bottas into the flat out right hander. Side by side they go, and Grosjean leads the French Grand Prix, but only just, as Bottas is keeping the fight going around the outside of the next very long right hander. And he's still just about got the overlap. He's going to have the inside line for the next long left hander, and he's going to try and take the lead back, and he just gets the nose ahead as they continue to fight through the entire final sector. And Grosjean is not going to give up though. He'll have the outside line, but it will give him the inside line for the final corner if he can keep it there. He still has the nose ahead, gets down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, and finally closes off that position and takes the lead fully of the French Grand Prix and leads the race in front of his home crowd. Romain Grosjean, a fantastic move there. It took him a while to get it done, but now he leads his home race. What a move, what a drive from Grosjean so far in this one, and now we need to try and capitalize on this. The two of them lost a lot of time fighting, and now it's our turn to try and attack Valtteri Bottas. Grosjean goes into the pits now to get rid of those soft compound tyres. They wear out a lot faster than our mediums, and as with Bottas as well on the mediums. So Grosjean is going to get an undercut thanks to that strategy as well, so that should confirm his lead in this one. Once we make our stops, he'll be running some pretty quick lap times until we stop much faster than ours on the worn tyres. So that is the target for Grosjean, to just keep that lap consistency up until we make our stops, and then just hold us off basically, and that's how he will get the win here if he is able to. But then we go around the outside of Valtteri Bottas into the chicane, and we now lead the French Grand Prix. But of course we have a stop to go, so we can't get too excited, but that effectively puts us up into second position once we make our pit stop. So as we continue on, it now is time to make our stop, 22 seconds behind to Grosjean. So it's going to be very, very close. We may actually be able to jump Grosjean here if we put in a good in-lap. But Bottas down the inside on the straight, and he wants to try and get this lead back. But this fighting isn't going to help either of us, to be honest, and this is only going to help Romain Grosjean. We do hold off Valtteri Bottas, but that little fight could be very, very costly by the time we get around to the pit lane. So here we go then. skipping ahead. We go into the pits for the second time in this race and make our final stop. Bottas continues on, so he's obviously not comfortable and not happy that he'll come out ahead of Romain Grosjean. Wants to try and stretch this a bit longer and maybe hope that the two of us start fighting each other. So here we go then, a good stop by the boys, and we come out of the pit lane. Where will we be relative to Romain Grosjean? We have a look back, he's there and coming up alongside. We can't get back onto the racing track because he's there on the inside, so we have to back out of it, let him have that position. Of course, you know, ourselves being the car coming out of pits, we have to give way to the cars on circuit. So yeah, we had to just watch out for him there, and now we just need to sit behind him and make sure neither of us lose any time to make sure we come out ahead of Valtteri Bottas. We both have fresher tyres than him, so we should be running faster lap times, but given that Grosjean only had a slight pace advantage when he was on the soft tyres, I feel like that Mercedes car is faster, so it's going to be very, very tough for either of us to win this race with Bottas looking so strong, but we'll see how that goes. Hamilton's really kind of dropped out of contention in this one as we go past the pit exit. We have both jumped Valtteri Bottas, and it is now a 1-2 for the team. Grosjean leading and myself in second, Bottas in third position. And now it is just about trying to maintain this for as long as we can. We continue on, and you can see Bottas has caught up to us. So like I said, that Mercedes has better pace than us, and we are just sitting and waiting. We're not going to try and overtake Romain Grosjean. That I believe is not the best way for us to get a 1-2 in this race. I think I have a better chance of holding off Bottas than Grosjean does, so if I can just sort of sit in between us and be a bit of a blockade for Valtteri Bottas, we can bring home a 1-2, whereas if I overtake Grosjean, we might get the win, but we may also not get a double podium or not get the 1-2, so I'm going for the team play here and trying to put myself in between Bottas and Grosjean and prevent the Finn from overtaking either of us. You can see good straight line speed there. We're braking nice and early to make sure Bottas has no chance of sending one on us, and Grosjean as well. So that is kind of the state of play at the moment, but Bottas gets a good run along the straight. Down the inside he goes. Now we have to be super late on the brakes to try and hold off this position a little bit deep into the chicane, but we hold off the Finn for the time being as we run a little bit wide on the exit. Bottas with a decent exit there, but not much he can do along this straight. We continue on, and we're actually going for a fastest lap of the race here as we sit in the slipstream and DRS of Grosjean. We're planning to overtake him here along the straight. Leclerc's out of the race and the safety car is out, and that's ruined our fastest lap attempt. We will keep the lead though, but that is Charles Leclerc out of the race, and he crashes into the wall. I thought that was just a mechanical failure, but Leclerc, what are you doing there? He was going slow, so he obviously had a mechanical problem, but it was as he was pulling off the road, just bang into the wall. What are you doing there, man? That's not a mechanical failure, mate. That's just a brain failure. Look at this, just whack. I have no words for that. I guess maybe he just slipped on his own oil that he was dropping on the road. I don't know what the deal was there, but anyway, that is Leclerc out of the race, not just with engine failure, but with some damage to the car as well. But anyway, we continue on the safety car restart. We get away from Romain Grosjean and the field behind, and we're able to lead this race for a little while. But I want to give the lead back to Grosjean, so we do so along the straight. But now Bottas has got to run. We need to try and cover him off as well as we head down towards the chicane. Bottas on the outside line. We dive up the inside, trying to maintain this position up and over the curbs, but we do maintain second position. Bit aggressive there, but we had to do that. We had to get Grosjean back into the lead and get myself in between them, because you could see the pace that Bottas had. Now as we continue on, Hamilton actually overtook Bottas in that little scuffle we had there, and this is Bottas retaking that position in the chicane, but that is not good news for us, because now Bottas is down the inside once again, and we go around the outside into the chicane, and we get the move done on Valtteri Bottas. I said chicane before. What I meant is the flat-out right-hander for Bottas overtaking Hamilton, but we'll ignore that and move on. And we continue on with this race. So now we're going for another fastest lap on this one, sitting in the slipstream of Grosjean. We're going to go to the outside, and we'll be able to take the racing line here. Grosjean doesn't get in our way, and this time there is no safety car, and we should be able to seal the deal here and get this fastest lap. It's currently held by Valtteri Bottas. I want that extra point for drivers and constructors, but not. I don't want to take this win away from Romain Grosjean, because like I said, I don't think he has what it takes to hold off Bottas for the entire race. So we continue on again, and here we are letting Grosjean past, and tactfully he kind of boxes in Bottas there, and doesn't allow the Finn to make a move. We actually run a little bit deep and almost bottle it there, and Bottas gets alongside, but we are able to hold him off thankfully, and he slots in behind once again. So that is good for us that we're able to recover from that, but we almost let him slip through, and that would have been no good for us. But now we move on to the final lap of the race, and to be honest, after that I didn't actually have the pace to keep up with Grosjean. You can see we're close, but I just didn't quite have enough to stay competitive with him. So in this later phase of the race, he's really lifted his game, and I just don't really have anything for him. You can see on this final lap we are going to push as hard as we can, because I want to finish as close as possible. In my head I want to do a kind of formation finish. I doubt that's going to happen, because we need to, you know, cross the line side by side. That's very difficult to do when you're the second car. You know, of course you can't really order your teammate to back off like that, so it's going to be a tricky one, but we're pushing really hard to try and close up to him and get our cars as close to each other as possible across the line. But it's not really working out for us, as Bottas is going with us as well, and I don't want him to get too close to us either, as we get a wash of understeer through the flat out right-hander, turning in a bit late and getting caught up in the dirty air as well there. But yeah, this is going to be a fantastic result for the team. A 1-2 is on its way, along with the fastest lap as well. Maximum points here in France as we come towards the final couple of corners. Romain Grosjean has driven a brilliant race. We've played the strategy fantastically on both sides of the garage, and as we both come around the final corner, it is going to be another Grand Prix victory for Romain Grosjean, and we will come across the line as well to complete a 1-2 finish here in France.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
Indeed it was. From both sides of the garage, the strategy, everything just worked for us today. And the result was amazing.
Another superb French Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
Welcome then to the podium, our top three drivers. What a great effort from them today in a very difficult race.
So Romain Grosjean strategizes his way to a fantastic home win here in France. We make it a 1-2 for the Lupo Thunder team, with Valtteri Bottas good points for his championship in third.
Let's review the drivers' standings. Valtteri Bottas passes his rival to take over the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Now, let's discuss, Ants. Who would you say is a contender for Driver of the Day?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Meanwhile, good work from the owner-drivers team this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, there we have it. What on earth do we say about that race that we just witnessed? That was incredible. Watch this start from Daniel Ricciardo. Just absolute. What was that? That just went flying across the screen. Anyway, absolutely perfect. He almost could have taken the lead into the first corner if the track was a bit wider. Which is weird to say about a modern F1 circuit, but yeah, that was unbelievable from Daniel Ricciardo. Just absolutely perfect start. His reaction time must have been, you know, a 10,000th of a second. Incredible, incredible. But anyway, what to say about this race? Unfortunately for Daniel Ricciardo, that great start wouldn't amount to much as he dropped down the order and then ultimately retired. with a mechanical issue, so maybe that would explain his lack of pace, because that Red Bull has been very, very quick. So yeah, unfortunate for him, but yeah, for us, we obviously could have won this race, I think, but of course I just went for the teamwork, went for the 1-2 finish instead, and you know, we still gain points in the championship. We actually overtake Daniel Ricciardo in the championship after this race, and we move ourselves up into second, 12 points behind Valtteri Bottas. And in the constructors, we move up as well with our third race win in a row. So we're bringing in some huge points recently for our team, and it's been a really, really great run of form. It's like, I can't speak. It's come very, very suddenly. That's what I'm trying to say. I think Grosjean had hardly scored a point or two, honestly, and then he's got 2 wins in the last 3 races, and the other one that he missed was a DNF. Otherwise, he probably could have got a podium in that one as well. It's been quite mad to see this form just suddenly increase like this. But yeah, all of a sudden, we've got on top of all the car issues we've had, and we're both just on it and getting the results. It's been great.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, sure.
Your team dominated the race today. Was it the car or the teamwork? What's the secret to your success?
I mean, it's both, obviously. You're never going to win a race unless you have the car to do it, but it was the teamwork, honestly, this time. Grosjean with a fantastic strategy, it has to be said. To go onto those soft tyres and get the track position was crucial for the race win, and it was great.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
Yeah, we had a great race and a great strategy this time. Of course, we're not always going to be so lucky in the future, but it's going well for now.
Is there a hint of jealousy in seeing your teammate up there on the podium? Or are you happy for them?
No, I'm nothing but happy that we're both up on the podium, honestly, so yeah, I'm nothing but happy for the team and for him with this result. Seeing him win in front of his own home crowd is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, no jealousy at all. It's yeah, amazing to see.
How do you feel seeing your teammate up on the podium?
I mean, I more or less just answered that question, but yeah, it's great to see the results finally coming for this team. We've been working away for a while, and we've got 3 wins in the last three races as a team, so it's been great.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Claire. Bit of a repetitive question there, but anyway. Oh, Leclerc, what were you doing in that race? Mechanical failure and then just crashing into the wall while you're pulling off the road. That's got to be one of the weirdest things I've seen. I guess if we're speaking, you know, as far as the AI and the coding goes, I guess that was sort of a mechanical failure, and then while he was pulling off the road, he had one of those mistakes where they lose control, and he just kind of crashed into the wall, which it was quite funny to see. So yeah, it was it was a weird one, but anyway, we have the money though to go for another facility upgrade, and we are going to go for the resource point generation on the chassis facility. I don't think it'll unlock any new upgrades, but it will be bringing in more resource points, and that will always be a help to us. But other than that, speaking of resource points, we have a few to spend after FP3, so now we head into the R&D screen. We're going to spend them on an ICE durability upgrade. Grosjean had that mechanical failure, and I don't know which components it was. There's not really any way of finding out what component failed on his car, so we're going to work on the ICE durability, as that's probably the most likely. It wears out the fastest of all the components, at least with our Mercedes engine, so that is what we will work on. But yeah, other than that, there wasn't enough resource points to do anything after the race, so we just scrolling through menus aimlessly at the moment to try and find the results for the season. There they are, because I wanted to see Romain Grosjean. I mean, look at his run of results. Like before the last 3 races, there was pretty much nothing of note. You know, we had a few lucky ones, of course. But yeah, Grosjean has really lifted his game the last 3 rounds, it has to be said. I mean, of course, the car being a much better has made a big difference there, ever since Monaco. But yeah, it's kind of crazy how much better the team's been going in these last few races, and it's literally catapulted us into the championship fight with these last few races. I mean, this run of race wins surely can't continue. Red Bull will fight back, Mercedes will fight back, Ferrari are up there somewhere. So yeah, it will be an interesting one for the rest of the season, but it is a fight I am very much looking forward to. So yeah, let's sit back and enjoy that one for the rest of the season. But other than that, then, there is not a lot left to cover. So I will say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time for the next round.
We had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed.
Oh dear.
Check your R&D screen to order any redevelopments.
Trying to do my outro here, and our upgrade to the power unit failed, so that's unfortunate. Oh dear, that's not what we needed heading into Austria, which I was about to mention is the next round. 3 DRS straights, and that covers most of the track distance around Austria, so yeah, that's unfortunate. That power upgrade failed. That would have been a really great round for that upgrade to come in, but oh well, it's not to be. But anyway, like I was saying, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you next time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Goodbye.